Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Master Crafted. Today, we are going to have an episode with my good buddy Andrei, who's also on Phil's team, 40K Fight Club, and we are going to be talking about Bridgehead Strike Force, the guard detachment that dropped over Grotmus. We really want to get into a lot of the Codex detachments, but this one has just been winning too much and too problematic not to take a look at. First, Phil, what are we going to be going over today?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the bad boys of the meta, the bombastic baddies that are running through 40K currently. They are just Imperial Guard. They are just human beings. But you know what? With the hit rerolls and wound rerolls and a group of stratagems and units that could be considered some of the most effective in the game, we see a level of lethality that there are very few armies that have the toughness to actually stand up to pesticides and Karskin troops and not die. I wouldn't. I think we were just talking about it before. There is not many units defensively that can stand up to it unless they're in that Imperial Knight range, and even then, that is still scary business. You don't want to get shot by that unit. Fully. So we've brought Andrei on, and we have Lane. So we have two guard specialists to kind of talk about this detachment. And I'm going to preface this with something that I really enjoy, which is statistics. It's something I run for Denver 40K Fight Club, and it's something that I really enjoy. You may look at Astra Militarum and Bridgehead and say, oh, they have above a 50% win rate. They're really good. Well, the Bridgehead detachment on its own is running a 67% win rate. That already is really good. What I care about most, actually, is the percentile or the peer-to-peer percentile win rate. So if you have a question on what that is, I use StatCheck all the time. They're a great website. I will promote them as much as I possibly can because they're fantastic. But the 99th percentile of players, so the top 1%, they have 32 games total, and they have a 50-50 win rate. So if you're telling the top players in the world that taking this detachment, you have a 50-50 shot winning against the other top players in the world, that is an incredible statistic. That is incredibly high, right? For a detachment that I would say is probably one of the strongest in the game, and it shows, right? When it's done with good piloting into the best players out there. So, Andrei, why don't you give us a little bit of a background? Talk to us about your 40K competitive experience and how that started, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so my road to 40K started, I think it was 2008, like 15 years ago. Uh, I remember my first box I ever bought was a 5th edition starter, Assault on the Black Ridge,
Uh,
Marines against Orcs. And of course I chose Marines because it's like the face of the universe, right? Uh, so starting from there, I was playing a lot at 5th edition, then a little bit less in like 6, 7, 8. I returned to like 40K in 9th edition, but still not played a lot. Uh, so competitively on guard, I started playing like year ago, I guess. Yeah, like February 2024. And from that moment, I'm playing like only guard. That's my main, and I really love that army. That army is great. Uh, that's like short story, right?
yeah.
Um, and we are talking today about Bridgehead, right? The new detachment presented December last year. And first, when I saw that detachment, I wasn't sure that that detachment is so good. But after I played like maybe 15, 20 games total with Index and Codex, I can say that detachment is awesome. It's really good one. But disclaimer, it's not easy to play that detachment. It's like one of these skill check things. Like you need to understand what you're doing when you're doing whatever. That's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say too, not only is it incredibly, it is very technical, it's very time consuming. That is the
Oh,
other
yeah.
thing. It is, if you want to play this, I played one practice game against Matt who was on here, and I was like, no way, I'm not taking this to a GT. I am not going to spend my entire weekend sweating just trying to get everything I need to done to hopefully get through a game. I was like, this is strong, but it's just not for me. I don't have the time to get that good at this, but it is good.
I agree. It's time consuming. It takes a lot of time to. I mean, if you have more experience, if you're a more experienced player, maybe it will be easier. But for me, it takes a lot of time to figure out where I need to place units to most. Sometimes do it wrong. Yeah, like it takes a lot of time really to calculate all your positioning, where, who should where, and like how to set all things.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're just guard bodies, right? Like you still die just like guard dies, and your toughness is not built into your data sheets. It's built into just removing what's in front of you, and you need to
Yes,
remove as many things in front of you so the crackback doesn't hurt nearly as bad.
that's true. I agree. That what happens like practically every game. You have like alpha strike turn. It might be turn 2, turn 3, depends. But then you need to face consequences, right? If you're not like kill enough, you will be dead. Because you're still a guardsman. You're elite guardsman, right? You have 4-up save. You're still guardsman.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna give a little bit of a rundown for those that are like, well, what do you mean Bridgehead? Is it really that good? Can you tell me about it? I will tell you about it. So the detachment rule is only the best, and it's every time an Astra Militarum infantry model from your army makes a ranged attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. And then each time a Militarum Tempestus model from your army makes a ranged attack, if it was set up on the battlefield from reserves or disembarked, you can add 1 to the wound roll. And based on seeing this on the board and everything like that, yes, the reroll ones to hit is very nice. The +1 to wound on the time that they are either set up or come out of a transport. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that feels like the most lethal thing that you got.
Yeah. It is the spice.
It's the second most lethal thing. The first one, you change from the codex to science. Right now, in codex, they can reroll wound rolls of once all the time, or full wound reroll against targets on objectives. That thing, I'm not sure which of these two is better. It is stronger. Like both of these abilities feels very strong. They boost your damage insanely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's going to be one of the biggest things is these are probably, no matter what army you're playing, reroll wounds and +1 to wound are across the board maybe within the top 3 of buffs, if not the top 2 buffs that like for keywords or buffs you can have on a unit. Those two help so much get that extra damage through. So yeah, having access to both of them on your already strong units is just from the get-go. Obviously you can start to see where the power in this detachment is.
Yeah, feels pretty good. Definitely feels pretty good. But then that detachment rule is good. But then I look at these enhancements, and guys, these all seem valuable. Like I would almost be okay running any of these. I don't think they're necessarily that bad. For some of us have enhancements that are just duds, right? They're not nearly as good. So we got Bombastic class Vox Array, which is each time it issues an order, it can issue up to 3 orders to 3 different regiment units instead of 1. That seems pretty good. Priority drop Breakin. You can set a unit up using a deep strike ability in the first, second, or third. So deep strike in turn 1. That seems really good. Shroud Projector, turn off Overwatch, awesome. And then Advanced Augury, which is a redeploy for 3 units. And you can put those units back into Strat Reserve. So those are 4 enhancements. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 enhancements that are really solid. Especially like they fit the theme of the army. They are effective in certain places. If you got the points, I don't know if I'd feel bad about using any of them.
Yeah, and I feel like you always at least see two in all the lists I've seen people run. Usually three is still a good way to go. It just depends on how much you can really squeeze into there. The two auto includes are almost always the Vox Array, because giving that one order to 3 extra units, especially when you have the Tempester with the Tempestus command rod to allow them to be double ordered, that allows you to really make those Scions so lethal on the drop. The other one that people obviously always take is turning off Overwatch. When you are as paper thin as Scions are, you need to make sure that you can have at least, one thing that can drop in around some flamers, maybe in a certain matchup. It doesn't matter what it is. You just need to have that ability to drop in and kill something without being punished beforehand. The other two are kind of, you can take if you have the points, but you don't exactly have to, I think. They're still very strong. I think the best way to use them is in a plan to help you deal with early pressure armies, is the way I would put it. Because for one, you can set up things like Sly Marbo really aggressively in the early game to make sure that you can kind of block some infiltrates and things like that, and then redeploy him because he actually has the regiment keyword with advanced augury and other things like that. Or maybe move around some Catachan that are outside of a transport that are trying to get you some early presence if you need to shift them around somewhere. And then the other one, priority drop beacon. Nothing is maybe grosser than having the ability, if you go bottom of turn 1, if you not only, we'll get to the CP spending in a minute, but if you can spend a CP to pick up one, but if you drop a second one that was in strat reserve and you drop 2 15-man Scion squads turn 1, if somebody's really trying to pressure you with like a fast melee army, and you just eat about 600 points of their army like it's nothing because they're just infantry, and you eat that for breakfast, it's super strong. Andrei, any other thoughts on those enhancements?
I agree with you. Like the best one is Bombastic class Vox Array, I think the full name. That's the after include 3 orders. That's awesome. That's what we need. Because as you mentioned, command rods on Tempesters, so the squad can have 2 orders at the same time. So it's +1 ballistic. Now we reroll it once. And we have usually take extra shot for rapid fire guns. So starts 11 plus, depends on what's, no, like 10 plasma shots. And that's a lot. I think first turn deep strike enhancement, it's good, but it costs like 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
And in detachment, you most of the times doesn't have them. Because like, for me, 30 points is Solo Commissar. And I will better take Solo Commissar for action play. Like cheap action monkey, And you know what I figure out? If you're playing against really skilled, good opponent, I'm not sure he will give you some targets for turn 1.
And they shouldn't, right? But that's again,
Yes.
right? You just taking this, it is just that threat of, all right, well, now you need to be extra careful in your turn 1 because I can drop potentially 2 things if I'm bottom, or even 1 thing if I'm top.
I agree, but I think it's too expensive, honestly.
Yeah.
Like that's my opinion. But like 2 of the enhancement, Vox Array, and I think the name is Shroud Projector, no Overwatch thing. These ones are after include, like all the time. They're so good. And they like not so expensive. Like Bombast, okay, 25 points, but it's worth it.
Well, I mean, that seems great. We've got good enhancements. We've got a good army rule. It feels like we're right on the path, and obviously it's shown with the games that we've played so far and the data that we have that this is a army that's got some teeth. So we'll go over the first stratagem. It's Bellicosa Drop. It's only in your movement phase, but you can deep strike outside of 6 inches versus outside of 9. How valuable is that, Lane? overall?
I mean, just having the added flexibility. There's so many times where you're trying to just, squeeze in all those bodies on certain lines of sight because your opponent's, really trying to cut that away from you, and it just really helps to at least have it in your kit. You might not have to use it all the time. In general, you're going to try to save some of your CP for a lot of there's just great stratagems. Like the whole depth of these are great, but it's nice to have it. You could even, if you have a 5-man Scion squad or something that is just there for scoring and you need that to just pop in, it's so nice to just have the flexibility with an army that is so dependent on being able to drop where they need to. And it really is just such a nice cushion to make sure that you can do that when you need to.
It's number one stratagem of the whole detachment, in my opinion. It's most used, I mean, for me. Maybe other people don't use it so often, but I think I use it like practically every turn when I drop something. Because, as Lane mentioned, you can find the weird angles, like not very obvious shooting lanes, and that helps. Like, you can put damage from where your opponent doesn't expect that. And that's huge.
Yeah, seems pretty good. All right, well, if that's Andrei, if that's your top number one, I can't wait to see where you rank these others because the next one I think is probably one of the strongest. Firing Hot. It's one Militarum Tempestus or Kazukin unit from your army, and you can improve the strength and AP of a whole list of weapons by one. So your strength is up by one, your AP is up by one, and holy crap, does that seem pretty good for one CP?
That's true. It's a good one. It buffs only your last gun weapons, all the range of everything that have last in the name.
Correct.
That's a good one, yes. But your main source of damage, as I can see for now, it's melta guns in squads and plasma guns. And sometimes it's like kill. Even regular last guns have AP 1, strength 3, and strength 3 with +1 to wound, like you wounding Marines on 4s. With that strat, you will be wounding on 3s, which is kind of cool, but when you're wounding them on 4s with potential full rerolls, you fight. Like, you don't want to use that CP for this. This next one, I don't remember the name of that stratagem. It allows you to strip cover after one of your infantry unit shot. This one helps a lot because you have some small, like trashy unit, like not trashy, like small unit, like 5 science or Gaunt's Gods. They shoot first, then you remove cover, and then you have your last guns with AP 1, and most of the times that's enough. Like, if you're shooting like to up save targets like Terminators, in that case you can use extra strength, extra AP. But I'll better use ignore cover instead of extra AP.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that is there's that one pocket isolated niche place where firing hot is maybe the better way to go, and that is against T6 when it comes to infantry that you're shooting, whether it's custodes or terminators, whatever it is, anything that's T6, that extra strength, puts you, especially on the drop, getting +1 to wound, and now you're also going up an additional strength, so that 5 goes to 4s. And that is very, very nice. And it also, if they don't have cover, whether you are doubling down and you're using servo designators, the strip cover strat that Andrei brought up, or just, maybe you have a hellhound, either way, just ensuring that you have that little bit of extra AP and that extra strength to make it +1 more basically to wound those targets is the one niche case where I do think that firing hot definitely has the edge as the better stratagem. But servo designators, which we'll go over next, is probably the better all around because it will last for the rest of the shooting phase, which means if you have multiple scions, dropping to hit something, they will both benefit, especially if you've lined up another Astra Militarum infantry unit that can do the shooting first, and then you use that strat to ignore cover the rest of the phase, and then that one really, really has the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, you've hinted at it. We've talked about it. Servo designators overall is a very good stratagem. It's in your shooting phase, and just after an Astra Militarum is shot, select one enemy unit that is visible and hit by those attacks. Um, and then until the end of the phase, they cannot gain the benefit of cover. So cover is a great mechanic. It's awesome in terms of now in the game of 40k. It is almost everywhere. There are very easy ways to get cover. And for those that aren't tracking, that +1 to your save can be the difference between winning or losing units more often than not. So you need to understand, first of all, for our players that are watching this that are trying to learn, you need to understand how to be able to take advantage of cover. Right, you need to be able to do all those things. You need to be able to identify when you have cover and when you don't. We'll post a video soon just in terms of talking about those specifics, but I would strongly recommend if you just get on the Warhammer app and you go to ruins and you go to cover, it will show exactly how cover is allocated and how you need to determine those things. But stripping cover for 1 CP, your faction specifically, because you do rely on that -1 AP, right? Like -1, -2 AP. And if you have the capabilities to strip cover, that's huge because we still have a meta of Armor of Contempt and we still have a meta of +1 save. So if they have cover and Armor of Contempt, now they're back on their base save and they're back on 3s or 2s or whatever it is that their base save is. And that's not fun for guard in terms of being lethal. So that is a huge tool, and I get that going forward why this detachment is so good. So honestly, that's 3 stratagems, and all 3 of them have the capability to be used. I think that's completely fair.
Mm-hmm. The next one, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the 4th one. For 1 CP, any of your Astra Militarum units can advance and shoot. Easy 1 CP advance and shoot. So you can use it on your tanks if you take tanks in your bridgehead. Like, why not? It might be useful because you can pick up spoilers. So you can use it on your science bricks. After you drop them, you need to move them, you need still to shoot. It's good stratagem, just good. Nothing crazy.
Lane, any other thoughts on that?
I mean, it's just again, this detachment really gives you the tools to play your army very well and kind of the caginess you need when it comes to a paper thin army. You know, once you've dropped, if maybe you were kind of behind cover, it's nice to have the ability to then if you didn't have the CP to maybe pick them up, now they can advance out, get a new line, and then, you know, shoot with that advance and shoot as well. And that can be super useful. It's just making sure that these, you know, they're not super expensive, but your bricks are worth quite a pretty penny. So making sure that you can keep using them turn after turn is very nice. And so having advance and shoot is just another little nice to have. It's probably going to be, you know, maybe your once a weekend kind of ones, but it's just another tool in the toolbox.
Okay. All right. We'll go to the next one, which is, I think, the one that is one of the least used, if not the least used, for aerial extraction. So 1 Valkyrie unit from your army that is not within engagement range, or 1 Astra Militarum unit that has the deep strike ability and is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. You can remove that unit from the battlefield. The Valkyrie part, I would say majority of players are not running many Valkyries, but the Astra Militarum part, that part is sick.
Yeah, it is very nice to have. A lot of people will just go ahead and plan to use this on their Bombastic Vox array. They will just, you know, pick that up, go ahead and put it back into strat reserve. So that way, you know, you can, whether you needed to do some, there's a lot of ways with guard in our orders to do some kind of tricks where I can give something move, and then also order it to have something when another officer comes in, and you can replace that. So you can use that flexibility to really get yourself into more of those advantageous positions, kind of like that fire and relocate strat where you can advance. You could combine that and give them +3 to move and advance them and really get around a corner. Because aerial extraction allows you to keep that lethality by picking up your 3 order command squad and drop them back in at the end of your movement phase and still give them the orders that they need. And that is one of the most common ways we see that played, as well as usually having Ursula Creed run around the table to stay close to wherever that squad is landing so that she can do her once per turn, because you know you're almost always going to do it. Free CP and just pick up that squad and be ready to
I
go the
agree.
next turn.
In my opinion, it's the second most used stratagem in the detachment. Because if I have an option to pick up anything, I will pick up anything. Anything, science. Because you need to keep in mind that main damage happens when you set up your units. So ability to pick the units and set them up back to get this +1 to wound, that's huge. So you can keep doing your damage with +1 to wound.
Yeah, it is very strong. Sorry, Phil.
No, you're good. It seems really good. I mean, that is once again another stratagem that you have capabilities to use, and it seems valuable. And we'll go on to the last one, and it's probably my favorite one because it's definitely one of the most thematic. Now, don't get me wrong, I have like 5 Valkyries fully painted up, good to go. Like, I should be running Bridgehead right now, but I should be running it with like the air cav army, and I should be doing it with all my scions because like that was when I first started playing competitive 40k. It was like scions, and I wanted air cav, and I wanted all this stuff. But this last one is probably one of the most thematic for guard. It's on my position. It's end of your opponent's fight phase. 1 regiment unit from your army that is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Roll a d6 for each enemy unit. On a 2-up, the enemy suffers d6 mortal wounds, and then you suffer 3d3 mortal wounds. That could be a lot. That could be 9. That could be 9 mortal wounds on your own squad to deal 6 the other way. But geez, does this feel thematic? Like the guard calling in the or what do they call it? I think it's an airstrike. Yeah, Imperialist strike fighters, weight above, and they come in and they fire on your position and you kill something, but you die in return, and it just seems so cool to me.
You know what?
Have you ever used this,
I
Andrei?
just
That's my
thought
first
right
question.
now that I could use it in my last game, like 20 minutes ago, because I had like I don't remember, like 2 or 3 guys stayed alive in melee with like Fabio's Bile and with like couple wounds left, and I fall back them, tried to kill him with shooting, but right now I'm thinking like, wait a second, I had an option, and I missed that. Because, like, honestly, I mean, that stratagem is funny, but I'm not sure you will see people using it because it's kind of weird, right? But sometimes, in some specific circumstances, you can use it. And
You just need to have like a 20-man brick of like Kriegsmen or something that are floating around the midboard, waiting to heroic into like 4 different things as they can,
actually,
you know,
and
then just live till the bottom of the turn and just go, all right, here we go. I get a roll. 4 of your units now take d6 damage, and you know what? We did it for the Emperor. It's all good.
I don't even keep
Blow
this
us up.
stratagem in my head because most of the times you like looking at that like, what the hell is that, right? I don't know. Yeah.
And it's not even a bad strat. It's just so niche. You have 5 other just like 3 like rock stars, 2 other great options, and then you got this one that's like it's not bad, but you just never use it.
In my opinion, should be in Siege Regiment, right? When the dudes like calling artillery strike on their position. It's like, I don't know why they put that in Bridgehead, but you still can use it. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? I could use it. I could use it in my last game. And it was a play, but I missed it. Okay, now I know. I need to remember about that as well. Yeah, for sure.
Gotta write another note down. So, keep it in the journal.
Sorry, Phil, not interrupted.
All right. No, you're good. So we have 6 usable stratagems. Like on my position is a little niche, sure, but I will stand by the fact that I think it could win you a game. Like all I picture is like scions at the end living with the character that they're trying to assassinate, or maybe it's a bringing down target or something like that, and you have like 2 scions left because they tank shocked you and they just didn't have enough attacks to kill the squad, and then you're just like, fire on my position. I'm gonna pick up the last couple wounds on this tank. My scion squad will die, but it's all worth it for the glory of the Emperor.
It's
It'll be
definitely what
okay.
I could use in my last game when Rhino charged 2 science and they stay alive in that combat. Like, okay, well, like,
You still
yeah,
would have
that's
rolled the
true. I
1.
mean,
You know, it just they
so
wouldn't have
I
gotten
think,
any
like,
morals. You know.
summarizing all this stuff about that detachment, you have awesome detachment rule, right? You have good enhancements, and you have good stratagems. That's what makes that detachment so good. You can use everything, and that's the thing.
Yeah. So now that we've kind of gone through the background, you know, we've laid the floor. You know, we know what you were working with here. We got all the things for the detachment. What are some of the most important things that you must
I have
include
it
in your
in
list
my
when you are
notes.
building with this?
Tempest Militarum Tempestus Command Squads, or Science Command Squad, how we call them. 3 of them have to include. They're so good, they give you orders. You can take command rods to have 2 orders. They give you sustained hits, which is huge. And also, change in the codex, they changed Medipack. Now you can bring back D3 guys back in your command phase. And it's good because you want to overcharge your plasma guns. And they will be dying. And so you can bring them back. Okay, these couple dudes with plasmas died, exploded. I'll just call home and just bring me a couple more of the same guys, right? But also it opens you sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes not obvious moves, or maybe obvious for someone, when you can bring back like 3 dudes and put them on objective and like flip that objective. Because other thing in command squad, you can take regimental banner, which gives you extra OC. And actually about detachment rule, there is another thing. If your Tempestor Prime, if you make one of your Tempestors Warlord, now your Science battle line and have OC2. So with banner, they OC3, and it's good. And I think you want to take banners because other plays you still will have OC1 even if you battle shocked. And it helps in games against Tyranids, for example. When they do their shadow in the warp, you fail your battle shock, but you still have OC1 with banner. That's a huge piece of war gear. What else? Or Chaos Demons with their, like, whatever shadow. So, Science Commons had 3 of them, have to include. Then you need 3 units of Science to attach these command squads. That's have to include as well. That's like the core, right? Then I think Ursula Creed. I mean, I think you need to include her in all of your guard lists. She is new Lord Solar. Have to include everywhere. She's so good. She can do 3 orders once per battle round. They changed it. Now it works once per battle round, not per turn. You can use free strat within 12 of her. So she can be on herself and still give this buff. And I think that's it for her. So she's so good. I have to include. Then, I don't know, Lane, correct me, like 3 units of mortars. It's have to include.
I think that one is a personal preference. Personally, I think they're very good. I think they are super strong.
I mean,
I assume you're
today I
running
ran 2
Catachan?
Cadians and 1 Catachans because I need to buy the correct bases. Because Catachans on 60 mil, like old ones, they need to be bigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
but 3 units of Catachan mortars. I think they're awesome. they have scout move built in, 6. They have built-in reroll of ones of hits and wounds against monsters and vehicles, and they cost 50 points for 3 bases. And mortars do d6 shots plus blast, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage. So for 150 points, you have 3 of them. You have Ursula with 3 orders. You just order them plus 1 ballistic. You hit it on force, even with indirect, because they have heavy as well. And you reroll and hit rolls of once, because of the detachment rule. And it's a lot of damage, actually. When you look at this, like, oh, d6 shots, 501, but you have 3 of them in the squad, they have blast, they can kill, like, any, like, chaff units, like cultists, I don't know, Nurglings, like, anything like that. Like, T3, 5-up save, but not only that. They not so bad into Marines as well, just volume of attacks. Like, okay, roll your 3-ups. You will be failing them. I think they're good.
Yeah.
Also,
I
there
definitely
is
think
another play. I never did that, but in some matchups, let's say Knights or Chaos Knights, you can use them like matchups where you don't have targets for mortars, like T10 hulls, right? Knights. I think it's Knights. You can use them as additional action monkeys, as additional screens, because they have scout move, they move in 6, they infantry, they can go through walls, they have grenades built in. It's like just 50 points for 3 bases. You can do whatever you want with them. That's why I think they have to include.
That's
Even
interesting.
if you don't have targets for mortars.
Yeah.
Or
Well, I mean, if we look at the meta
Or
nowadays,
they strength
like
5. A lot of
yeah,
transports
yeah,
in the
go ahead.
game, like rhinos, wave serpents, tower oxes, they strength they T8 or T9. So you can like try to finish them off with like if they have, like you see rhino with like 2, 1, 2, 3 wounds, or like your ridge runners or rock grinders, right? They like T8, T9. So if you have left one of these guys with like 2, 3 wounds, you can try to finish them off, because at least you have reroll wounds rolls of ones, and you have strength 5, so you wounded on 5. Like, why not?
Yeah, I think they're definitely very versatile, and they're definitely worth taking a look at. Especially if you have the Catachan ones, especially. I do think there's some other play and stuff. I've seen some people look at like the field ordnance batteries as well, having built-in rerolls of 1. You can just kind of sit back there, put 4d6 shots at 712, ignoring cover. I think mortars are a little bit cheaper and a little bit more versatile. I'd probably lean towards them myself. We're just trying to give people some ideas and some options. So I would say, I think having an indirect threat in general, with an army that's really trying to get people to push out to do things is very, very good. Being able to take away their scoring pieces even when they're hidden, it just helps pressure their army to have to come out and deal with you faster and sooner, and that's really when you're going to get some of their big targets hopefully onto an objective or somewhere out in the open that you can deal with them a little bit easier, because you can start working on all those smaller pieces early.
Part of about these mortars, that sometimes you need to prepare battlefield for your drop, right? Depends on the opponent. They help you to clean trash, to clean screening units, like scouts, like anything, right? Sometimes you need to spend like first 2 turns to prepare board for your drop, and these indirect pieces helps with that. That's a huge part. Like field ordnance batteries are good, but they cost 100 points. For 100 points, you can take 2 units of mortars, and they will do more shots. And we still guard. Number of shots matters. That's the thing. Like, one lost gun doesn't kill Marine, but 100 lost guns. Oh, 10 lost guns, right?
All right, so we got the command squad, the Tempestus command squad. We got the Scions attached. We got Creed, and we got the mortars. What else are you
Count
taking?
Ghosts, they very important. I think in most of the guards lists, because lone operative, infiltration, IP Downey. Plus, they can do 2 orders. As we talked before, you can drop them after you drop something else, and then do order, which boosts your damage or like you can order safe, and your science will be 3 up safe. Actually, it's not so bad. You're T3, but it's like sisters. It might help you to survive something. What else? I run 1 unit of Aquilons. I like them. They have benefits from the detachment. They have +1 to wound because they are Tempestus. Also, there is a not very obvious play. I think Flamer is the best for them. So the thing is, what I did in one of my previous games, I dropped them first. It was actually last week I played against Brandon. So he had Calidus with 2 wounds left, screening his backfield from my drops. So what I did, I dropped Aquilons. The thing is, their rule, you can shoot their flamer right after you set them up on the board. So I dropped them, I killed Calidus with that flamer, and then I have more room to drop my science. That's the thing. It doesn't happen every time, but that's a use of them. And I think you want to have at least one of that units. Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and also having a
true.
free 6-inch drop is just generally nice to have. If it comes down to just needing to score or do whatever, in those night matchups as well, just
and they
move
also
blocking
can
even might
kill
be huge
some small targets like 5 Marines. No, maybe not 5 Marines, but they can kill 2-3 of these guys, and then you can finish them with mortars or scouts or something like that. So I think 1 unit you probably want to have. Then what else? The star of the whole new codex, Taurox. Probably the best unit in the whole codex, Taurox. You want to run couple with, I think, Catachans, or I tried today with Kasserkins. I'm not sure about Kasserkins still. So the thing is, cheap transport, 10 dudes inside, you can disembark after advance. So if you run Catachans inside, you have scout move. And then you can scout move Taurox, then advance, drop dudes on the objective, flip objective, deny primary, do some secondaries. A lot of you, screen, you can use them as screens, a lot of use. And they also help you to hold objective, because you can put them on objective. If opponents kill your Taurox, you'll say, okay, now I have 20 OC here, right now, right away. And to kill this, you need to put something else on objective. And actually, I think that's the biggest part of all Bridgehead. You want your opponent to be on objectives, because the maximum value you get when you're shooting at targets on objectives. So you kind of want to force your opponent to go and step on objective. And these boxes with dudes inside help you in that.
Yeah, I would say I think I'd probably lean away from Kazarkin in the Toroxes as of right now, because I feel like they're just over costed to basically, because you could even just put a 10 mana Scions in there. You have almost the same loadout, and they get reroll wounds. Being able to order themselves for 2 orders is nice for the Kazarkin, but I think I'd rather just put even combat. If I'm looking for something that's more killy, I'd rather put combat engineers. They still get a scout up the board. They get to, roll on a 3-up, do their mortals, and do a free grenade. I think they're going to just be 70 points and trade probably a little better than Kazarkin overall. A little bit more well-rounded, I guess. It'll depend on what they're going into, obviously, but as just
I had 3 units.
Are you taking any Krieg engineers in your list at all?
that's the next thing I want to
Yeah.
talk about. They new unit, Greek Combat Engineers. Very good unit. Like regular guardsman profile T3 with one exception, they have 4-up save, which is a little bit better, but overall doesn't matter. Scout move 6, you can use grenades for free on them, and once per game you can throw remote mine. You just need to pick one enemy at the start of the shooting phase. That's important. You can select one enemy unit within 12 and roll 1d6. On 3-up, that unit will get d6 mortals, or d3 plus 3 if it's vehicle or fortification. It's funny, actually, a fortification. So they good. They give you like these first turn presence on the board. They give you board control because of the scout. They can do actions. They can screen you. Like, very good. 70 points for 5 dudes. That's fine for what they can do. That's good, in my opinion. So basically, you want 3 command squads. You want Ursula. You want at least 3 units of science. Probably 1 unit of aquilons. 3 mortars, in my opinion. Or maybe 2 mortars, 1 bombast, but I like 3 mortars because they're cheap. 1 unit of aquilons, 2-3 units of engineers, and Gaunt's Ghosts. And it should be like around 1200 points, I guess, maybe 13, I'm not sure. And the rest you can fill with whatever you want. But you want more science most of the times. Or my latest discovery, I'm trying right now to run Bulgarians in Bridgehead, and actually, yeah, I know you'll like that.
Hell yeah.
And actually, I like that too because they tough. You can't order them. That's not good. But the thing is, they tough enough to step on objective to survive whatever games to them, right? Or you can use them as counter charge. They're not so great in combat, but they okay. So they can buy you a time to hold something, because for me the worst matchup, the biggest problem is fast melee armies, right? And Bulgarians kinda can solve that problem. They can hold some melee because they have -1 damage for up in wound, feel no pains, 3 wounds, all we know. Like all we know, all we love, right? And I think they have play in that detachment.
Yeah, I think especially against fast melee, your ability to just line up 12 Bulgarin in a line and make a line that spans basically like 2/3 of the way across the board. If you're playing, lengthwise with most of the missions we're on, you're not going to throw them out early. You need to go put some trading pieces out early and stuff. But, you get to turn 2, turn 3, where you're really just trying to make sure you protect the room you do need in the mid board. You just advance them up and you just have a line that says, all right, well, you're going to get caught on this and you're not going any further. I think Bulgarin are always, you always need at least 6 no matter what you're playing. I don't care if that's true or not. It's what I'm going to say. Bulgarin are just my favorite. They're too strong. They're too tough. Matt will never stop giving me crap about taking them, but I'm not going to stop
about Bulgarians in Bridgehead, why I think they have their place there. Because if you look at other detachments where you want to take tanks, you don't have points to take them, because they are expensive, 220 for 6 dudes. But in Bridgehead, you don't take in tanks, so you have points to take Bulgarians. I think they're good. I like them. Yeah. I will be experimenting more. But I'm not sure. Do you need 2 units or 1 is enough? That's the questionable here.
Yeah. I'd say you probably could get by with 6. I would, if you feel like you can take 12, take 12. No reason not to. If Bulgarin come back down to 200, where I think they actually should be right now, I'd say 12 feels great. I'd probably start looking back at that again myself for my list, but 220 is pretty pricey. And again, for me, running combined arms, it is, man, I got tanks to take. I need trash. I don't really have enough to pay for elite infantry. You were talking 1,200 points is all you really need for that core.
Maybe more, maybe
Extra 440 to
1,400.
throw
I'm
on
not sure.
Volgren sounds worth it.
So that's basically it about what you want to see in that detachment. Like, if you have an option to squeeze more science, do it. Because they fucking good. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Andrei, you did point out one thing. You
Yes.
said your weakness is fast melee armies, and you and I played the same person, Frank, in our most recent Wyoming GT. You got him first, and then couldn't get the win, and then you forced me to play him. And that is definitely an interesting army, but they're not the only army that definitely has that fast melee archetype. So, what are some other armies that are like that? So, like Fabius Bio, with a bunch of chosen and possessed, that is one of those fast melee armies because they'll all have advance and charge and they'll all have those shenanigans. So, there any other armies that come to mind?
Transports. That detachment doesn't like transports because, you want big targets on foot because you need to chew through transport first, and then what's inside can kill you. So you need to put 2 units or engineers to try to kill it. And if you're not killing transport, whoopsie, you fucked. Sorry. So about other armies, I think Blood Angels are really good against Bridgehead. I played at Colorado Springs RTT against Troy, and he had MSU Liberator Assault Group, I think the name of detachment, where they have extra attacks and extra strength on charge. So he played 3 units of 3 Sanguinary Guard with characters, 2 or 3 units of GPIs, and they fast. It's Blood Angels specifically, because all of them have jump packs. That hurts. Because they fast, you can't move block them, because they just jump over you and charge whatever they want. And even 3 Sanguinary Guard or 5 GPIs can kill 15 men of science in combat. They just charge you. They have a lot of attacks with possible rerolls of everything, or they wounding you on 2s. That hurts. What else I don't like? Talking about Marines, they have one great combo that just so good against Bridgehead. It's 5 men of infiltrators with attached Phobos Librarian. So, thing is, 12-inch no deep strike aura and lone op. It hurts. That hurts. Basically, you can't kill that squad. With indirect because lone op, and with deep strike because you can deep strike within 12. And if you deep strike outside of 12, they have lone op. Fuck you. That's a good combo against Bridgehead.
It is a great unit,
also,
for sure.
I think what else might be a problem? Another guard detachment, recon element. That's Kata-chan themed detachment with a lot of dudes. Thing is, they have for 1 CP they can give any of their infantry units 12-inch no deep strike aura. And that's huge because 20 men of Kata-chan's scout moving and then saying, hey, here it is. I covered the whole fucking board with 12-inch no deep strike. That might be a problem for Bridgehead. So, first, MSU melee and transports. That's the thing that
Transport.
hard to play. You want big tough targets. I don't know, regular demons Bloodthirsters, Uncleans, because you can kill Unclean without any problems. Because you wounding Great Unclean on 4s. Surprise, surprise. Rerolling everything, potentially. So okay, I don't care, you T12, T13, whatever. Well. But if MSU, that hurts.
Yeah.
And combat.
No, that's some really great thoughts. Lane, you got anything else you wanted to add there?
I think that's a great, coverage of a lot of the things to look out for, to maybe give people a little bit of hope if you're not those things, and what you should maybe try to do if you are playing against Bridgehead. Make sure, if I'm playing Bridgehead and I'm running my more tank heavy, version of guard, I'm not going to park a Rogaldorn on an objective unless it's the absolute last thing I can do. And even then, I might not just do it. I'll say screw the primary. I can't lose this. And he'll still probably slap it around like it's nothing, because even without full rerolls to wound, it hits hard. The detachment does with the +1. But yeah, you're trying to make sure you're advancing the things up on make sure it's kind of a weird, like, your go turn, quote unquote. You want to make sure you're throwing stuff ahead of you far enough that they can't hit your major pieces, and you're just really trying to screen out the board for a turn or two to hopefully take enough primary away from them that you will still win the game, because as long as those scions keep getting to activate, they will keep picking up stuff. And so it's trying to make sure you're only ever putting trash on objectives, trying to make it as hard as possible for them to go, okay, well, I can kill your big scary thing this turn, or if they do kill it, they're going to give up primary or other scoring and things like that. So it's really just trying to make sure you're not
You know
making
what?
their
I
own
think
rules
if
more
you're playing
effective.
against Bridgehead, you need to be patient. Because no matter what, your opponent, Bridgehead player, he needs to bring all of his stuff turn 3. Like, yeah, one squad will be going up and down, but he need to bring everything on turn 3, so you can kind of wait. And when you will see where all this science landed, you can give him something to, like, kill, because you need to, right? As you said, to step on objectives. But I think that's the thing. You need to be... There is two ways. If you're playing, like, Legion of Excess, you just rush forward, in the face, straight in the face. If you're not playing that, you need to be very, very patient and very precise. Like, just you need to understand. Yes.
Yeah, trade as minimally as you can those first couple turns, and then turn 3, say, all right, I'm just going to try to put so much out there that it's hard for you to deal with the primary and my big things that are hopefully still somewhat safe because of the bubble I've created in the mid board,
And of course,
and
you
really
need
try to create that pressure.
to screen well. It's sometimes it's hard against 6-inch deep strike, but you need to do that. Any other questions, Phil? Like, you're just like, what's going on there?
No, on. Well,
Yeah.
so when I talk to people about 40K and I talk to people about their armies, like, this is probably one of the most enjoyable times, right? In terms of me learning about things and stuff like that. I talked about it in my last video where it was just you and me, in terms of viewers, like you and me. We were talking about all the ways that we lose games and all that stuff. And I was kind of explaining, like, when we're dealing with our opposition, right? Like, I have the advantage of I do get to play quite a few games of 40K, and I have a huge pool of players that are incredibly high level, so I get to see them often. But these conversations just make me think about, like, all the things that I want to do across all my armies. So, like, Custodes, like with my Venerable Dreadnoughts. I don't want to see Bridgehead because it does scare me, except for one aspect, which is my Venerables stand back up. And that means you have to fight me if you're going to kill them, which is really, really tough for an army that doesn't necessarily have enough combat to kill a Venerable, even if I stand back up on one wound. That's still going to be really hard for you to push through.
On my position stratagem will shine, right?
There you go. That's how it works.
There you go.
So, like, that, it makes me think, right? But then I'm like, okay, well, do I run Solar Spearhead or do I run something else? Because each one's going to be a little different. But, how do my Custodes deal with it? How do my Gene Stealer cult deal with it? How do my Space Marines deal with it? How does my Death Guard deal with it? Right? Like, I'm thinking of all my factions that I play and I run competitively, and I'm like, man, some of these really do not want to see Bridgehead across the board because they're more mobile. But the one thing I will say is, like, I'm very confident with my Gene Stealer cult, especially final day right now, and I think that matchup would go well for me, just because my screens and your screens would trade, but my screens come back, and I have a lot of, a lot of the same benefits that you get, I get, and I have a lot of flamers, which allow me to pick up squads pretty effectively, even with little 5-mans. And I have a lot of transports. Like I'm running 2 or 3 rock grinders. I have the ridge runners, right? Like I have a lot of shots and I have a lot of density, and that's what we're looking for here. So, yeah, it causes me to think a lot about matchups, and there's a strong possibility, Andrei, you and I get paired up into
We'll
each
see.
other at some point during RMO, and I can't wait because we will see. Or Lane and I get paired up together, and we can play as well. So, and I assume we're taking
Yeah,
guard to RMO.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
that's the
sure.
plan.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think like
Hell,
90% I'm taking Bridgehead. I'm still not sure about how this list will be designed. I'm still thinking about that, but I think so. Because like, sorry Lane, I don't want to play Combined. We played the whole year with Combined. I'm too tired of this.
hey,
Like other detachments, I don't know. They feel kind of same, plus minus, with the exception of Recon. But I have no idea what I should take there. It's hard. So Bridgehead offers you like absolutely different play style than, let's say, like average normal guard list. Because you don't take tanks, you don't have like all this armor, like lethals. You have like everything you have is just like 60 dudes, right? Like okay, 80 dudes, 90 dudes, but they still guardsmen. So it's different play style after regular guards. You don't.
yeah. I think Bridgehead is probably the strongest. It's definitely the highest skill dependent detachment by far that we have access to. I just didn't want to take the time investment. I got too many other things to grind 20 plus games. I played one. I was like, you know what? We'll keep rocking what I know. I also think that combined is probably still one of the stronger options in the book. Lethal's just too good. But yeah, I'm excited to see how Bridgehead does. I feel like you and some other people might be running some Bridgehead, and
You
it'll
know what
probably
I
do
just
pretty
thought
damn
about?
well at RMO.
Sometimes in when you play in Bridgehead, it gives you like false feeling that you like can kill everything and just like boom, and then you shooting, and after that you realizing like, wait a second, I don't finish that unit, like couple dudes left. I don't finish that unit, couple dudes left, and then they can tag you and like you screwed. It might be like a trap, you know, like having all these insane damage, but you still need to understand that all this damage is great, but it's not the 100%. It's not the answer to everything. You like still need to think. Sometimes you just like start rolling dice. It's like, oh, I can kill everything, and then like, oh, wait a second, what? You know, it's like small thought. I think you understand I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like it's just like
Oh yeah.
you're too excited in rolling like your plasmas and meltas, picking up the enemy models, then you can miss something really important.
Yeah, it you can't afford to bounce in some of those
Yeah.
matchups. The math might be there, but sometimes the dice aren't, and this is a detachment where you are not tanky
Like
enough
you
to
look
stay
at the
out there
board
in those
and you
scenarios.
okay, I can pick everything. I don't care. And that's the wrong way. You need to understand what exactly you need to pick up and where you need. Like the whole detachment is about positioning, how you drop your dudes, where they will be, and what can tag them, shoot them, or interact with them in like any way.
And once again, we're going to promote my other video where I talked about the 4 ways that you lose 40K and threat management. If you do not threat manage properly in terms of what to kill, on what objectives, with what units, you do those things in an army like Bridgehead, like if you're running it, you will get exposed if you don't threat manage properly. And all of those things are so impactful in terms of managing a game. So, yeah, you just keep hitting on it. It must mean that we kind of know what we're
Yep.
talking about in terms of playing 40K.
We might have some idea.
Might have
rough
some idea.
Yeah.
All right, Lane, is there anything you want to end with?
No, I think that's it. I'm excited. We're gonna start grinding out some RTTs coming up here in the next few weeks.
Mhm.
Hopefully, RMO the packet will drop soon. I have not seen it yet, and we will hopefully get to go over what all to expect when that mission pack drops, on what the missions are and what to be ready for. And it's just gonna be another. I mean, not even we're under a month now till RMO, so super excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be one of those tournaments where there's 200 players there, right? We're talking about people coming from out of state or just our Denver locals or Colorado Springs or up in Wyoming, right? It's going to be an incredibly competitive tournament and a lot of diversity of armies, right? We're going to see the new Eldar. We're going to see the new Drukhari and that kind of matchup.
We
can talk about it, Andre.
This new Elder book, I think that's the reason why you want 3 units of mortars after included. Because from what I saw, I think they will be running
That's
like
fair.
MSU, right? And they still T3 bodies, and your mortars should do well in them. Another reason.
I mean, I feel like at this point, you should just drop one of the squads of Bulgarin, take 3 more
don't have
mortars of
orders.
the Cadian variety,
You don't have orders
and then you
for
just
that.
have 18 mortars.
No, they have
don't have mortars
You
in the
don't
Cadian?
have orders
I haven't looked at heavy
for
weapon
them.
teams yet. So.
You can't order them.
Uh,
And like hitting on 4s and 5s, it's a huge difference.
I mean, I feel like you still you can drop the Bombast and just Vox array them for the first 2 turns and do that. I'm ordering them instead of Scions. I'm gonna sit and hide for 2 more turns before I even drop in and order them.
Somewhere someone was talking about this, but I'm not sure. I think it's too much. Like 3 is optimal. Okay, sorry, Phil, for interrupting.
No, you're good. Lane and I have talked at length about what the Eldar Menace is going to be. We had Nick on a couple weeks ago talking about the devoted to Drukhari and devoted to Iniad and how good that detachment is, and all the tips and tricks and all the things. And my mind is still like swimming from it. I'm coming up next week, and I'm gonna get like 3 games in a row with Nick, and we're just gonna run it back multiple times, and I'm just gonna get beat real bad because I'm going to learn about all the things that Drukhari does over and over again, right? But that's how you need to learn, right? Like, I don't want my first game against Devoted to Iniad to be at Armo. I want it to be, at RTTs or going up and playing Nick or doing stuff like that. That's where I want to get those games in. I don't want it to happen at RMO. So it's super important. Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, Andrei, as a Astra Militarum. I will always call them Imperial Guard. I don't think I got it in me. Like, even saying it feels a little weird. But we appreciate having you on. You and Lane, kind of getting giddy over talking about Imperial Guard and all the fun units that you guys have. It brings me a bit of joy. So really appreciate you coming on.
Of course, Imperial Guard. It always has been Imperial Guard. I mean, I'm playing for a while, right? From the times when it was Imperial Guard. So in my head, it's always Imperial Guard. Yeah, I mean,
always. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Andrei, for coming on. It's been a fun detachment declassified to go over Bridgehead with you. And unless you got anything else, I think that'll be it. And remember, everybody, that victory isn't given, it's forged, and we'll see you next time.